And out front now, Boris Bondarev. He was a Russian diplomat for 20 years and resigned in protest over Putin's invasion of Ukraine. Thank you for being here. Boris, Putin's saying today that he's suspending this nuclear arms control treaty with the United States. Why do you think he chose to do this now?
Well, I think it's his another way of this nuclear saber rattling, which he has been doing since the beginning of this war. And I think maybe he finds that his usual threats of using nuclear weapons are no longer treated with this fear and anxiety as they used to be. So he tried to choose another way to frighten the Western public, first of all. And now he tries to undermine the basic international law in regard of nuclear weapons.
Do you see it as an empty threat, or do you see with this announcement that he is actually any closer to using a tactical nuclear weapon here?
Well, actually, it doesn't say anything about whether he gets any closer to using of nuclear weapons, but it is very, very bad for the future of arms control in nuclear sphere. Because with this move, any other document which should replace the New START in 2026 has become totally unrealizable.
Boris, also today, Putin continued to falsely claim that he is the one who has tried to resolve this conflict with Ukraine peacefully, and that he was the one that was pushed into war. Also speaking once again as if the Russian military was winning and that the cratering Russian economy was actually strong. In your view, do you think he actually believes this?
Hard to say, of course, but I think there is some extent that Putin may believe in what he's saying, especially about the good state of the economy, especially and also about his prospects. I think he believes that he can win this war, that he is winning this war, and maybe in the near future he will succeed in pressing Ukraine to some kind of negotiations, to negotiate the peace on his terms, on Putin's terms, of course, and then he will be able to present himself, to pose himself as a winner, as a great leader, and then his political future will be secured for some more years. So I think that's how he sees the situation.
I did want to ask you about his future, because one thing that Putin did acknowledge today with a moment of silence was all of the Russian soldiers so far who have been killed on the battlefield in Ukraine. Now, these deaths haven't caused him yet to change course, but as the war drags on and more of his soldiers die, does it eventually hurt him, do you think?
I don't think it will ever hurt him personally, because I think he sees all Russian citizens as the instruments to do whatever he wants, to achieve his own goals. And his own goals, his goals that he's trying to achieve is to secure his everlasting grip on power in Russia, to stay president and dictator forever. So he can sacrifice, almost any number of people, as long as they are willing to be sacrificed. And that's the main issue, the main question: how long Russian society will stay tolerant to all these casualties and losses? And unfortunately, today we see that it is still tolerant. It can be, can put up with this. Yeah.
But do you think that it could get so bad? It could get to a point that all of this bloodshed, if seen, if truly understood by the Russian public, that it could cause him to lose power?
Well, yeah, I think if the Russian society, majority of Russian people realize that this war is not what they are told it is, of course they will be angered, but we're not at that point yet. The Russian propaganda is very powerful, really, and the most people are not directly touched by this war, unfortunately. So, especially in major cities, the life goes on as if nothing's happening. So there is a big gap between this war in Ukraine and people in Russia, and this gap seems to be very, very, very wide. So we're not yet at this point when this gap starts to close.
Boris Bondarev, thank you for coming in.
Thank you. Bye-bye.